Alright, so we're going to take a look, kind of continuing everything, we're going to take a look at the Fury Preview for 7.0. Go through the abilities just like we did with the other classes, and we'll kind of take a look, see where Fury kind of stacks up. So at level 27, Fury's going to get some choices, so they have Subjugate, Dark Synergy, and Unrelenting Rage. Subjugate, Rage and Burst also damages nearby targets. It basically gives Fury kind of an AoE thing to it. It's not going to be any good. No one's ever going to take it. Fury's not some type of AoE spec, really. It has like the crit on Smash, but other than that, we're never really going to be taking Subjugate for that. The two next ones are a little bit more impactful. So there's Dark Synergy. So dealing damage with Raging Burst or Smash increases your critical chance by 20% for 6 seconds. This effect cannot occur more than once every 8 seconds. It's pretty good. So basically you get a 20% just flat crit increase for 6 seconds. And it can only happen every 8 seconds. Every 8 seconds is important because that means it can't happen basically endlessly, and there's going to be a cooldown. I believe the cooldown ends up being like you can actually do it with like Raging Burst and Smash, given the cooldowns that they have. You can pretty much proc this every 12 seconds. So it's basically an increased 20% crit every 12 seconds is what it kind of breaks down to for 6 seconds. So it's not too bad. And when I say every 12 seconds, I mean you have to do 12 seconds in between before you'll be able to do it. So it's actually a pretty good DPS increase. And then we have Unrelenting Rage. So Raging Burst deals 15% more damage and applies trauma to its target. If you guys don't know what trauma does, it reduces the healing received by 20% for 10 seconds. It's not as good. It's not as good as Dark Synergy, that's for sure. I pretty much see Dark Synergy being taken all the time. Even the 20% less damage is just not as good as a 20% crit for 6 seconds. Quite frankly, the trauma is nice. It's very nice in PvP, but even then, there's no real point of taking it. Trauma is not worth the 20% crit increase. You're just going to be hitting harder, doing more damage than what a trauma is going to do as far as the decrease goes. So, level 27 choice on Fury is going to default to Dark Synergy for pretty much every spec. PvP, PvE, doesn't matter. Next one, we have the level 35 choice, which is pretty much the same for every single one of the Marauder and Sentinel specs. We have Snaring Slash, Overwhelming Slashes, and Predation. So Snaring Slash is basically where Vicious Slash and Ravage slows the targets by 50% for 10 seconds. It's decent. It's nothing to write home about. If this was in another tier, you might take it. Then we have Overwhelming Slashes. So this is our Immobilize on Ravage. Makes no sense why it's still here, to be honest with you. Back in like 2.0, 3.0, when it was a channeled ability, made sense. Not anymore. Then we have, again, Predation. So that's what we have currently on the PTS. Basically, everyone within 40 meters of you gets their speed increased by 80%. Increases your melee and range defense champ by 10%, lasts 10 seconds, and is on a 30-second cooldown. The level 35 choice for Fury is going to be Predation, just like it is for Watchman and for Carnage. You're going to be taking Predation. There's not going to be any other thing that you're going to take here. I kind of have a theory that they put Predation here just because they knew they were going to put bad choices and couldn't think of anything to compete with it. So the other choices are kind of noob traps. You're never going to see anyone take them. Level 43 choice is where it gets really kind of interesting. And it's kind of with all the Marauder specs. The level 43 choice is kind of changes your playstyle. So we have Seething Defense, Furious Discovery, and Obliteration. Seething Defense is probably the weakest one. So activating Obliterate grants Seething Defense, which absorbs damage, lasts up to 10 seconds. It's not a lot of damage. It really isn't. The damage that it absorbs is minuscule. It's not anything to write home about. The next two abilities, though, are interesting. So activating Obliterate immediately builds 10 Fury. This is really good for this spec. This spec can build Fury instantly and can spend it really, really fast. So that's really awesome for this spec. It's something that you could definitely take. I believe this is going to be the PvE one. So when you're doing any type of PvE or raiding content, you're going to take this. It's going to be a massive DPS increase. And then the PvP talent is going to be our Obliteration. This is going to be... I don't know how overpowered this is actually going to be. On paper, it seems really, really good. but when you kind of think about putting it into practice, it might not be. So killing an enemy within 3 seconds of dealing damage with Obliterate resets the cooldown of Obliterate and grants Obliteration, which increases the damage dealt by your next Obliterate by 50%. It's going to be very situational is going to be the problem. Right, so if you can time it so where you kill someone with it, or you kill someone within 3 seconds of it, it's going to be really good. You'll get the cooldown refresh, and you'll be able to like see burst 2 targets down, which is going to be great, but the problem is it's very situational. So that's probably going to be the PvP talent though, because if you can time that, that's a big upside. It's a lot of burst. That's probably better than just the 10 straight up Fury. You can actually get that to happen. And I think the way it's going to work is you don't actually have to get the kill, it just has to register as a kill. So if you do a lot of damage to someone and someone finishes them off, it's still going to work. That's the way it works with all the set bonuses we have right now, where it says like killing an enemy in PvP, as long as you get the kill credit, not necessarily the final blow, that still works. That's why I think it's going to be pretty good in PvP. Just because you don't have to get the actual kill credit. You just have to get the... You don't have to get the actual killing blow, I mean. You just have to get the credit for the kill. So I think it's going to be pretty good. Then PvE, obviously, Furious Discovery. It's just straight up damage increase. More Fury, more damage. Level 47 is also some very interesting things for Fury. So Furious Power, that's what we have now. It's basically the things where we can consume stacks. Each stack increases your next single target melee attack by 25%. Has a 30-second cooldown. Pretty much going to be useless. I'm not going to talk about it a lot. Without the set bonus Descent of the Fearless that gave you a way to build bonus stacks, this is kind of trash. No one's ever going to use it. The next two, though, with Critically and Furious Ruination, are definitely something we're going to look at. So Critically means Berserk also increases your critical chance by 25% while active. That is a big crit increase. That's going to put you at what? We're still talking about the same critical increase. You're going to be at 70, 80, 95 crit, almost guaranteed crit at that point. So, roughly, because right now we're sitting, most characters are sitting, what, about 50 to 55 crit. So, 65, 75, 80-ish crit, so you're pretty much guaranteed to be critting. While you have that, I don't know how long it lasts. I believe it only lasts 6 seconds, I want to say. I don't remember exactly what it was on the PTS, but I want to say it was 6 seconds. But that's still a big burst window. That's probably going to be the PvP one. That's a huge DPS burst increase for PvP. Pretty simple to take. The next one is probably going to be for PvE. Fury's getting a lot of good options for both. That's why I don't understand some of the things they've chose for the other Mara specs. The other Mara specs basically have one option that's good and 2 options that are trash. Fury has basically two options that are good, 1 option for PvP, 1 option for PvE. So we have Furious Ruination. Each time you deal damage with a force, energy, or kinetic attack, you generate 1 rage. It's pretty good. It'll keep you topped off with rage and everything. Really good for Fury. Basically just a DPS increase. So we use that in PvE, and then PvP will be using critically. Level 60 choice is the same for all the specs, so we kind of already talked about them in the previous one. So Inexonerable, Interlooper, Defensive Roll. The first one, Inexonerable, you generate 4 rage when stunned. Really isn't important. Or get put to sleep or knocked back. The important part of it decreases the cooldown of Unleash by 30 seconds, so that's your CC breaker. You're able to break CCs faster. Again, given the other 2 choices, almost no one's going to use this, especially with the reduction of stuns in the game. I don't see a point in really having to use that at all. The other 2 are going to be personal preference. So Force Charge grants an additional charge and builds 2 Fury, so you get 2 leaps, essentially. And you get 2 Fury off of those leaps. Really good, lets you close the distance. Definitely PvP. You might take that. Then Defensive Roll reduces AoE damage taken by 30%. Increases internal and elemental damage reduction by 3%. Also a good choice. Either one of those 2, so Interloop or Defensive Roll, is going to be a playstyle choice. It just depends on how strong the cleave specs are. If we're starting to see and kind of predicting that we're going to see Madness a lot, when we kind of get into the Madness and Sork video, you'll see why. Madness is getting really strong choices and really strong buffs. But for this, we're probably taking Defensive Roll and Fury, just because it's probably going to be better than having the second leap. just with how good the cleave specs are looking to be. The cleave specs are looking like they might actually be the dominant classes. We'll kind of see that a little bit later. So our level 60 choice is going to either be interloop or defensive role. Defensive role if we have strong cleave specs. Interlooper if the cleave specs aren't as good as I think they're going to be, but find it hard to say. Find it hard to see them not being very, very strong. Level 68 choice, there's basically one choice here. Again, this is why the Marauder specs are getting so lower in power level. A lot of people have really good choices for these and have 3 viable options. With the Marauder and Sentinel specs, there's really only going to be one. So Cloak of Annihilation, Path Carver, Blood Ward. Cloak of Annihilation is another garbage, it's a garbage choice. There's no point in using it. Each use of Assault and Battering Assault reduces the active cooldown of Cloak of Pain by 3 seconds. That's great. How many times you use Assault and Battering Assault? Not much. It's just not very good. It's not very helpful. Path Carver increases the damage dealt by Sweeping Slash by 15%. No one cares. No one is using Sweeping Slash to any type of DPS increase. I'm not even sure why it's a choice. And then the choice that everyone's going to take is Blood Ward. Activating Saber Ward grants Blood Ward, which gives you basically your CC immunity for 6 seconds. In addition, you get attacked, you get 3% of your maximum health. The 3% of the health is pretty irrelevant. It's not a big enough health increase. 3% of your health is basically nothing at this point in time. No one really cares, because that 3% you're going to take the damage anyway. It's not going to like heal you to full or anything like a Merc. The biggest thing about Blood Ward is just the CC immunity. Just having that CC immunity. Every spec is going to have it now, which is going to be nice, because you won't have to make different choices. Like Carnage is going to have it, Annihilation is going to have it, so is Fury. So it'll be nice that every spec has it, but still, you would think there'd be stronger choices here. Especially with the things that Fury's losing. Same with the other Mara specs. The Mara specs are weak on power level right now. As we when we get to the end, we'll basically talk about all the specs in general. But the Mara specs are looking like they're getting kind of weaker. Level 73 choice, this is one of the reasons why they're getting weaker. We have Force Choke, Mad Dash, Undying Rage, same as the other 2 specs. So Force Choke is our CC. It lets us stun a target for I think it'll last 3 seconds or something like that, and then it can be cast while moving. It's our hard stun. Basically, you're not going to have a hard stun as a Marauder Sentinel anymore, because there's one choice in here that you're going to take. The next one we have Mad Dash. Everyone kind of knows what Mad Dash is. It's where the little twirling ability where you kind of twirl through things. Again, it's just a movement ability. Lets you kind of move faster around the map. Again, you're not going to take it because of the final choice. The top 2 choices, if they were in some of the other tiers, they would be viable choices, but you can't take any of those 2 because Undying Rage is just too strong. So Undying Rage, pretty much God mode. Reduces the damage you take by 99%. That's all damage for 6 seconds. 2 minute 30 second cooldown. Undying Rage is just too strong of a utility for anything like that. Every single Mara spec is taking Undying Rage. The other 2 might as well not exist. And if you could kind of see the pattern through the Mara and Sentinels, a lot of the choices might as well not even be around. So, Undying Rage it is. Level 78 choice, again, they're kind of bogus as well. None of these make any sense. It's almost better to not even. It's almost better to not even have a choice. These choices aren't very strong. So Thirst for Rage, Interceptor, Brazen. Thirst for Rage, you heal 1% of your maximum health whenever you activate an ability that consumes rage. In addition, Bloodthirst generates 12 rage when activated. That's a PvE increase for sure. But with the way that you're going to be able to build Fury, I don't even think it's worth it anymore. Since you're in PvE, you're going to take the instant build. So the way that you're going to build your resources and stuff. So I don't really think Thirst for Rage is any good anymore. Next one is Interceptor. So Force Charge, Devastating, and Blast. Near the target, reducing its movement speed by 50% for 6 seconds. You don't need it. It's probably going to be the one that you're going to take, but it's still really iffy. It's just a gap closer almost. You're almost going to use it as a gap closer. It's a snare, but essentially it's a gap closer. Same kind of thing. You're reducing their movement speed. So it's kind of a gap closer. And then Brazen increases your damage reduction by 2%. You build 2 Fury when attack. Cannot occur more than once every 1.5 seconds. Brazen doesn't do enough. What? So 2% damage reduction is nothing. It really isn't. It's just so pathetic. And that's when you see when we start looking at the other specs, what they're getting compared to what Mars or Sentinel are getting. They're definitely lower on the totem pole. But we'll see what happens. Legendary items can change it. Just a couple good legendary items could really put Mara and Sentinels kind of in the place they need to be, which I'm kind of hoping that's the case since we haven't seen all the legendary items yet. But for right now, Fury looks weak. All the Mara specs look weak, except for Carnage. Kind of thinking about it, Carnage might be the go-to spec. Carnage is getting some very good things. It just might be that Carnage is going to be the least bad of the specs right now. Kind of looking that way. The abilities that are getting removed are going to be the same for all the specs. So Obfuscate, that's pretty much a blind. It makes it so that the whatever target you're attacking, its melee and ranged accuracy is decreased by 90% for 6 seconds. So that's only really towards white damage. It's really good 1v1 situations against like operatives, mercs, PTs, snipers, that kind of thing. Removing that is another big kind of gut to the Maras and Sentinels because all 3 of these abilities are getting removed on all 3 specs. I'm not really sure why. There's got to be something that we're not seeing because these specs are getting very gutted very hard. Next one is Intimidating Roar. That's your soft stun that stuns up to 8 enemies for 6 seconds. Any type of damage kind of breaks that. Soft stun, so basically Maras and Sentinels have no CC anymore at all. The only CC they have are slows and I think they have a couple snares and stuff like that. But as far as like actual hard CC, soft CC, they don't have any. The final one is Crippling Slash. No one uses it, so it doesn't really matter. So slashes the target for weapon damage and slows its movement speed by 50%. Not a big deal. That one is just an ability bloat. No one ever uses it. Didn't really need it. So overall, Fury is getting weaker. A lot weaker. Carnage, looking at all 3 of the specs, is probably going to be number 1. I'm betting Fury's number 2 and Annihilation is sadly going to be sitting number 3. Just basically everything that's kind of showed with right now. So if we take a look back through Fury, level 27 choice, it's going to basically depend if you're doing PvP or PvE. But either way, really Dark Synergy is probably going to win out. You could make an argument for Unrelenting Rage in PvP. But probably still Dark Synergy. So Dark Synergy is probably going to be the choice there. Level 35 is going to be Predation. No other choice you're going to take. There's no point in the other 2. Makes no sense. Level 43. This is going to be a toss-up. So PvE, we're going to have Furious Discovery. Straight up damage increase. Obliteration is going to be our PvP talent just because it's more burst quicker. Obliteration could get abused. That's the one thing that I could see that Fury could really abuse. There's a good way for them to abuse Obliteration. They might be strong. But I just don't think... I think it's really situational. I can't think of a way that you're going to really be able to abuse it that hard. Level 47 choice. Pretty much taken critically. So just Berserk increases your critical chance, and I'm pretty sure it's 6 seconds. Furious Ruination, you don't really need. You don't really need any more rage generation on Fury. It has enough as it is, and Furious Power is just not good without Descent of the Fearless. It's too slow. Level 60 choice, it's going to be your choice between Interloop or Defensive Roll, just depending on the cleave specs. I'm guessing that when you're playing Fury, you're taking Defensive Roll. You're not really worried about the Leap getting another charge. You'd rather take the AoE damage taken by 30%, just because of how strong it looks like Cleave's going to be. Pretty sure that's going to be the default choice. Level 68, there's only one choice here as well, so it's going to be Blood Ward. The other 2 are just so garbage and so lower on the power level tier that they're never going to take. Never going to take Cloak of Annihilation or Path Carver. Blood Ward is just that much better. And it's really not even that good, because you gotta wait. The Saber Ward cooldown's so long. It's just 6 seconds of immunity is just still really good. Even without the CC being in the game. I mean, there's nothing better here to take. So this is kind of take the less of the evils here. Take the less bad one. Level 73, you're taking Undying Rage. Force Choke and Mad Dash would be nice if they were moved to other choice places, but they're not. So we're taking Undying Rage. Force Choke and Mad Dash are just basically not existent anymore. I mean, that's a BioWare choice. When you put the problem with BioWare is when they thought about these abilities, they didn't think what was going up against each ability. So when you put Undying Rage against Mad Dash and Force Choke, the thought of losing Undying Rage is so terrible that there's no way the other two get picked. I just think they kind of just made abilities whatever. So level 78, pick whichever one you want. None of them are very good. I guess the Devastating Blast Snare is decent enough because you're reducing movement speed. You can kind of use it as a gap closer. That's about it. Damage reduction by 2% isn't anything, and 1% heal really isn't really doing anything. So overall, Fury's definitely getting nerfed. It's not going to be doing as much damage. It's not going to have as much utility as it has now. The choices make it look really weak. Even compared to like the other, even compared to Carnage, it makes it look really weak. I'm almost 99% sure that Carnage will be better than Fury in 7.0, just based on the choices alone. Well, that could change. There's some legendary item that Fury does really well and give it the ability to abuse like the obliterate things, but I haven't seen anything yet. And mind you, we don't have all the information, but it looks like Carnage is going to be number one for the Mars and Sentinels, followed by Fury, and then Annihilation is going to just be really garbage too. Fury and Annihilation might be 2 and 3. I think they're both kind of equally bad, just given the choices that they have. So that's kind of the end of the Fury preview for 7.0. If you guys have any questions, just let me know. And then go ahead and watch the other videos kind of at the end. The next kind of thing that we're going to be doing is probably looking at the PT or Vanguard. And then we'll kind of go from there. And then at the end, once we get all the things done, we'll kind of compare all the classes and come up with kind of a tier list to see what's going to be the best class moving into 7.0. Everybody have a good night.